You know this already. You've either read it somewhere or know it intuitively, but Apple are f***ing rich. In 2021 alone, they earned $378.35 billion. Now, in a video like this, people are often tempted to put that kind of money into perspective and tell you what you could buy with it. But honestly, it's so much money, I'm not even sure there's anything that could put it in perspective. I mean, you could buy almost exactly 100 billion Big Macs. That's 12 for every person alive right now. Or you could bag the most expensive yacht of all time, which is clad in gold 79 times over. Or you could put all of those dollars end to end and reach to Pluto and back 1,172 times. Easily enough to make Pluto feel better about not being a planet anymore. And that's just their earnings from 2021. Clearly then, even the most avid spender would struggle to get rid of all that money, even if they really do like Mackies. And that could explain why Apple currently has $202.6 billion in the bank. So what does Apple do with all of that money? Well, let's find out. Okay, so before we get into Apple's vast wealth, let's first dive deeper into where that money actually comes from. Unfortunately, working that out is easy, as their Q3 report was recently released and contains all of the information we need. It tells us that in Q3 of 2022, Apple earned $64 billion from product sales and $17 billion from the sale of services. Now, that's not free money, as those sales cost them $46 billion, leaving them with a gross margin of $35 billion. A surprisingly large chunk of that coming from the sale of services. Now, once other costs and taxes are accounted for, they're down to a not too shabby $22 billion. In 3 months, that's not bad going. But where in the world is that money coming from? Well, the lion's share of the profit is made in the Americas, with Europe and China also representing major markets for the company. Which products pulled in the most money? Well, perhaps unsurprisingly, the iPhone reigned supreme, with net sales of just under $40 billion in Q3. Interestingly, Mac, iPad, and wearable sales are all worth similar amounts of money, all sitting at about $7 or $8 billion, with services then making up an astounding $17 billion, as we mentioned earlier. Even once we've accounted for those costs, though, Apple is still absolutely raking in money. Using data from the latest quarter, Apple makes about $2,460 of profit every second. That means that in the time you've been distracted by this crab holding an apple, Apple has made about $40,000 in profit. And this huge level of profit piling up every second creates a bit of an issue for Apple. They're almost earning more money than they know what to do with. Now, it's normal for a company to keep some profit aside as a rainy day fund. What's not normal is for that rainy day fund to become a Noah-style global flood fund. I'm hardly joking either. Apple has about $200 billion sat in the bank at the moment. Enough money to buy McDonald's, Shell, Verizon, Nike, or AMD, just with leftover cash. The thing is, they're not doing that. And a number of prominent Apple investors have complained that the company is just being too cautious, allowing their money to pile up, which is a dangerous thing to do, especially right now. So instead, what are Apple doing with their vast amounts of wealth to prevent inflation from eating away at it and to stop investors from getting quite so antsy? Well, one good route that they're already taking is investment, something which has been nicknamed the Tim Cook Doctrine. That's because Cook is keen for Apple to spend increasing amounts of money on R&D, and, well, they've been doing exactly that. Over the last decade, Apple's R&D spend has been rapidly increasing to a 2021 high of $21 billion, around 6% of their total revenue. Cook's hoping that this R&D spending will help Apple shake its reputation of being a bit of a laggard in the tech industry. Apple's superb branding and ability to make tech accessible might make them seem innovative, but it's rare for Apple to truly innovate in the way that other companies do. As such, this R&D spend is going down two main routes. Firstly, Apple is spending a ton of money to develop their own components. As Cook told investors in 2019, Apple's long-term strategy is to own and control the primary technology behind the products we make. And this investment seems to be paying off too. Apple now uses custom processors inside basically all of their devices, rather than buying them directly from companies like Qualcomm or Intel. To make this happen, and to burn through some more money, Apple has also been acquiring some relevant technology companies. Now, these might not be big attention-grabbing buys, like their acquisition of Beats, but Apple has been able to successfully purchase significant businesses, including their $1 billion purchase of Intel's modem division. These chips have been broadly well received too, with reviewers regularly praising the efficiency and power of these new processors. But they've also allowed Apple to power entirely new product lines, like the Bluetooth chips inside their hugely popular AirPods, which pulled in an estimated $12 billion last year. This added control likely also gives Apple greater power when supply chain issues hit tech companies more generally, which at the moment is a big issue. It's not just bringing the production of components in-house though. Apple is also investing more than ever into big future projects. Things which won't necessarily make their current product lineup better, may never even make it to shelves, but big bets which could help the company's future prospects. For instance, there have been endless reports about Apple's so-called Project Titan, which is supposedly working on self-driving car technologies, with them recently picking up major execs from Tesla and other significant companies. They're also meant to be working on augmented reality technology, with no shortage of fake mock-ups filling social media. Now, we might know that these aren't real, but the investment into this tech does seem to be a real focus for Apple, with Cook even remarking that the impact of AR could be profound. However, while R&D spend certainly is growing over at Apple, relative to earnings, they're still way behind other tech giants. Alphabet has spent about 15.7% of its sales on R&D, while Microsoft has invested 13.4%. And that's a big issue for Apple. They're receiving serious pushback from some investors about their hoarding. That's because in the current climate, tech companies are expected to grow year on year. Just releasing a new iPhone each year, pulling in a standard amount of profit, and paying out dividends doesn't seem to be enough anymore. Companies are regularly getting into trouble even when growth just slows. So there's real pressure on Apple to shift into new industries in order to capture enough growth. Now, Apple certainly can grow through phones and computers, but eventually they're going to reach some sort of cap on demand. And that's why big companies are now considering moves into entirely new industries to disrupt and continue fueling their growth. As we mentioned, Apple is supposedly eyeing up the car industry, which could be a big growth driver for them, while Amazon are looking into health and Meta are investing big into whatever this is. So, under investor pressure, Apple definitely is spending money to innovate and enter new markets. Now, that might calm investors, but their other strategy to get them around is through stock buybacks, which are, well, the name kind of tells you exactly what they are. They're when a company decides to buy shares back from investors. In 2021 alone, Apple spent $85.5 billion repurchasing shares, adding to the more than $467 billion they've spent over the last decade. And these numbers significantly outpace other tech companies when it comes to buybacks, even other business giants who are also looking to recover stock at the moment. Now, this has kept some investors happy, as well as improving earnings per stock, a key indicator used by analysts. But even still, Apple has had roughly the same amount of money in the bank since the figure broke $200 billion back in 2015. It seems then that despite increasing spending on investment and record-breaking buybacks, Apple is still printing money faster than it knows how to spend it. Now, you likely have to be a bit more careful with your money than the richest company in the world, but a good investment for you could be signing up to Nebula. That's a streaming service that we've built with our other creator friends and where you can find exclusive TLDR videos which will never make it to YouTube, as well as giving you early access to other videos. For instance, this video was first available on Nebula on August 20th, so you could have watched this ages ago. Not only that, but the Nebula version of this video also didn't have any adverts, not even this one. So if you want early access, entirely exclusive videos, and an ad-free experience, then you can sign up to Nebula for less than $15 a year. Yep, really, it's that cheap. That's because we've done a deal with CuriosityStream. So if you sign up to their superb service, well, you'll find tons of high-quality documentaries, then you'll also get Nebula, our streaming service, totally free. That means that if you sign up using our link, you'll get both services for just over $1 a month. Thanks for your support.